Pins of Peril, read by the author, Angelo Ford. Chapter 3, BMX versus a Train. I begged my mother for a BMX bike for months to no avail. We simply did not have the money to even buy a used bike. My friends all had tricked out bikes worth several $100s, and I would walk next to them as they would slow ride to keep my pace on the way to elementary school in Watertown, Massachusetts. All that would change in the Christmas of 1984. My grandmother saved all she could and surprised me with a brand new BMX. I was so thrilled and rode the bike with my friends to school every day in the new year. That one gift made me feel like one of the normal kids at school and boosted my spirits at a time when we barely had enough to eat. My mother found the gift to be extravagant and argued with my grandmother over whether or not I should be allowed to keep it. There were a set of train tracks that ran from my local neighborhood to our school and cut the commute time in half. Well, except when we get distracted. One morning, a spawn of frogs was croaking so loud that they drew us away from our ride. We set our bikes down by the railroad tracks and went to investigate. Our curiosity completely distracted us from an oncoming freight train that was barreling towards us. When we first heard the train, it was very far away and didn't concern us much. It wasn't until a friend realized that our bikes were on the tracks that we became alarmed. We booked it for the bikes. My friends cleared their bikes to the side, but I could not get mine to budge. The rear wheel was caught up on something, and I tried to free it, but also kept my attention on the approaching train. I realized there was no saving the bike, and I jumped from the tracks as the train made its final approach. It was a terrible feeling when the train rolled over my BMX bike, folding it into two. Each car of the train chugged along and mangled my bike frame as they passed over. My only concern at the time was safely getting off the tracks, but immediately after, it was almost as if I could hear the screams of my mother. She swore to my grandmother that I was not responsible enough for such an expensive bike, and sure enough, I destroyed it within a couple weeks. I was more terrified of telling my mother what happened than the actual event itself. I picked up the pieces of my bike in tears. There was a mixture of consoling and teasing from my friends as they continued to ride to school, and I carried the mangled mess of my bike home. My mother was the angriest I'd ever seen her. She was so disappointed in my lack of care that she gave little notice to the fact that I was physically okay and nothing had happened to me. When my grandmother visited the following weekend, she couldn't have been more opposite. Her first response was to hug me and then warn me to not play on train tracks, telling me that bikes can be replaced, but I could not. My grandmother grabbed a toolkit from her car and salvaged what she could from my bike. The only thing that was really destroyed was the frame. A week later, she returned with a bike that was reconstructed from a frame that she picked up at a junkyard. "Problem solved," she exclaimed. The incident with the train caused me to dial back my risk-taking and really think about the consequences to others from my actions. My grandmother reminded me that painful experiences happen to us all, but in living through them we grow as individuals. She found treasure in the trash of my bike and used the incident as an opportunity to help me build character. I took extreme care with the rebuilt bike and treasured it for many years. Looking back, this was the first time in my life that I felt a visceral connection to my grandmother and distanced emotionally from my mother. It is a clear moment in my memory when I stopped behaving like a child and took ownership of my actions. My mother really did try her best, but she was just a child herself and raising a young boy who was exploring every limit he could find. I only lived with my mother until I was about 12 years old and then moved in with her older sister. My mother moved out of state and left me in the care of my aunt. My aunt was better equipped to deal with my shenanigans and provided a stable home for me, but faced significant challenges with me during my teen years. Staring down a freight train was the last red pin on my map for my pre-adolescent years. The following ones would come from many mishaps as a teenager, and most of them with the slew of cars that I owned.